You are on Tips and Streams with your host, Coca.
What's good, everyone? Welcome back to Tips and Streams. I'm Kokin, and I hope you're doing well and feeling locked in wherever you're listening from. All right, let's get to the daily picks. I've got 4 NBA matchups on the card today, so buckle up. We're diving straight into the action. The first prediction for today's NBA games is for the game between the Cleveland Cavaliers and Charlotte Hornets. When I look at this matchup in Charlotte, the first thing I focus on isn't the noise around trends or public perception. It's game context, and context matters a lot here. The Hornets are coming home after a long and demanding West Coast run, and honestly, I give them credit. Winning more games than losing on that trip tells me this group is competing, playing with confidence, and not backing down from tough spots. That blowout win against Denver wasn't an accident. It was a sign of rhythm, ball movement, and defensive focus. Still, I also know what usually comes after trips like that: fatigue, mentally and physically. Even when a team plays well, that travel eventually shows up. Cleveland, on the other hand, is a team I've watched all season, and yes, they've frustrated me more than once. They haven't been dominant night after night, and injuries have kept them from finding real continuity. Losing Garland hurts, no doubt. His absence changes the flow, slows the pace, and puts more pressure on Donovan Mitchell to control everything. But here's the key: Mitchell is built for this role. I've seen him take over games in spots exactly like this, especially when the Cavs need stability late. What keeps me on Cleveland's side is their interior presence and late-game execution. Mobley and Allen give them a defensive backbone that Charlotte still struggles to deal with consistently. And when this game tightens up in the fourth quarter, which I fully expect, Cleveland is simply more comfortable playing half-court basketball, getting quality looks. Charlotte will compete. I expect energy early, a strong first half, and stretches where their shot-making keeps them right there. But over 48 minutes, I trust Cleveland's structure more than Charlotte's volatility. The Hornets still live on momentum, while the Cavs live on control. So when I break it all down, injuries, schedule, matchup dynamics, and late-game reliability, this comes down to who I trust to execute when it matters most. I'm taking the Cleveland Cavaliers to win this game and cover the 2-point spread in Charlotte. It won't be pretty, it won't be easy, but I trust Cleveland to handle business when the game is on the line. Today's second prediction is for the game between the Detroit Pistons and New Orleans Pelicans. When I break down this matchup, I'm not just looking at who's playing better basketball overall. I'm looking at context, rhythm, and timing. And this is one of those spots where the schedule tells me as much as the numbers do. Detroit walks into New Orleans feeling good about itself, and I get why. They've been winning, they've been defending, and they just survived a grinder against Boston that came down to the final possessions. But for me, that's exactly where the red flags start popping up. That Celtics game took real emotional and physical energy, and now Detroit has to hit the road for a game that sits awkwardly between 2 meaningful home matchups. Those are the kinds of situations where young teams, even good ones, tend to lose their edge for a night. What really jumps out to me is how Detroit has been living in low-scoring games lately. Night after night, they're grinding, defending, and squeezing out wins. But that style demands precision and focus. When that focus dips even slightly, covering a big road number becomes a problem. I'm not interested in backing a road favorite by double digits when I see signs of fatigue and a possible flat spot. Now, flip it to New Orleans. I'm not here to pretend the Pelicans have been good this season. They haven't. The record is ugly, and the consistency just hasn't been there. But this is where I separate team quality from betting value. At home, with extra rest, this is a much better version of New Orleans than what we've seen on tired legs or brutal road stretches. I'm also watching the injury situation closely. If Herb Jones suits up, that matters. His defensive presence alone changes how this team competes. especially against guards who like to control tempo. And even without him at full strength, New Orleans still has size, interior scoring, and enough physicality to make Detroit work for everything. This is not a spot where I'm asking the Pelicans to dominate. I'm asking them to stay engaged, play with energy, and make this game uncomfortable. With the Pistons coming off an emotional win, dealing with travel, and staring ahead to another big game, I see a real chance for New Orleans to hang around all night. I'm staying away from the total because Detroit games have been crawling lately, and that understreak is loud. But when it comes to the side, the logic is clear to me. The number is simply too big for this situation. My money is on the Pelicans to cover the 11-point spread at home against the Pistons in New Orleans. I'm riding with the situational edge, the rest advantage, and the belief that this game stays tighter than the market expects. The third prediction for today is for the game between the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Milwaukee Bucks. When I break down this matchup between Oklahoma City and Milwaukee, I start with one simple question I've learned to ask after decades of watching this league. Which team do I actually trust to show up and play its brand of basketball for 48 minutes? And right now, that answer is clearly Oklahoma City. I've watched this Thunder group all season, and what stands out to me isn't just the wins. It's how sustainable their dominance looks on both ends of the floor. This team doesn't rely on one hot shooter or one emotional run. They defend with purpose. They pressure the ball relentlessly. And when they get a lead, they don't play with it. They step on your throat. That's championship DNA, and I don't say that lightly. Milwaukee, on the other hand, feels like a team still searching for its identity. Yes, they snapped a losing streak recently. And yes, Giannis can still bend games to his will in stretches. But I've seen too many Bucks games this year where the offense stalls, the spacing collapses, and everything turns into a grind that only works if Giannis goes superhuman. That's not a formula I'm willing to trust against the most disciplined defense in the league. What really pushes me toward Oklahoma City is the matchup dynamic. The Thunder are elite at shrinking the floor, cutting off driving lanes, and forcing tough decisions. Against a Milwaukee team that already struggles to generate clean looks consistently, that's a dangerous combination. I also love how Oklahoma City travels. They don't rely on home energy, whistles, or momentum. They bring their pace, their defense, and their composure with them. I know the Bucks are back home, and I know pride will be involved. But I've learned over the years that home court doesn't magically fix structural problems. If Milwaukee falls behind early, I don't see the secondary scoring or offensive rhythm needed to keep pace. Oklahoma City, meanwhile, has shown time and again that once they smell blood, they accelerate. From my perspective, this line isn't disrespectful, it's reflective. Oklahoma City has earned the right to be trusted laying points on the road. I'm not guessing here. I'm following patterns, habits, and execution trends that don't lie over the course of a long season. I'm riding with the Oklahoma City Thunder to win this game outright and cover the 9-point spread in Milwaukee. I trust their defense, their balance, and their ability to control the game from start to finish. This is the more reliable team, and I'm backing reliability every time. Today's last prediction is for the game between the Toronto Raptors and the Sacramento Kings. When I break down this Raptors-Kings matchup, the first thing that jumps out to me is the situation more than the names on the jerseys. This is one of those games where the schedule quietly shapes the outcome. And if you've watched this league as long as I have, you know these spots matter. Both teams are coming in on tired legs, but the context is very different. Sacramento stays home, settles into their own building, and plays yet another game in a long homestand. Toronto, on the other hand, is grinding through a brutal West Coast trip with flights, unfamiliar rims, and very little recovery time. From my experience, that gap alone is worth real points. Now, I'm not here pretending the Kings are a powerhouse. They've struggled all season, and their defensive lapses have been impossible to ignore. but I've also seen enough basketball to know that bad teams can still be playable in the right window. This is one of those windows. Sacramento has shown flashes lately, especially offensively, and playing at home gives them structure when chaos usually creeps in. What I like here is the way the Kings can control tempo in short bursts. When DeRozan is operating in the mid-range and Westbrook is pushing selectively instead of recklessly, Sacramento can hang around longer than people expect. Even when things break down defensively, they tend to answer with scoring runs that keep games within reach. Toronto is the better team overall, no question. Their ability to pressure the ball, score in transition, and play in close quarters has been impressive. I respect the way they've competed on this trip, especially bouncing back after tough losses. But this spot asks a lot from them physically. Another road game, another different opponent, and another night where legs can disappear late. In games like this, I always ask myself a simple question: who benefits if this turns messy? And for me, that answer leans towards Sacramento. The Kings don't need to dominate. They don't need perfection. They just need to stay connected, trade baskets, and avoid a collapse. At home, with the crowd behind them, that's a reasonable ask. So when I look at the number, I don't need Sacramento to win outright. I need them to compete, absorb pressure, and make Toronto work for everything. Given the travel, the back-to-back factor, and the way this matchup sets up, I'm comfortable riding with the home side. I'm taking the Sacramento Kings to cover the 7-point spread at home against the Toronto Raptors. That's my play, and I'm standing by it.